Rochelle, I can tell you the record labels here in Austin, Texas are giving these bands a pretty good platform, if you can hear what I'm hearing. We're right here on the main strip in Austin with South by Southwest, the music festival in full swing as all these bands take to the stage, many of them unsigned, many of them from parts of the world that many music fans will not have heard of. We've got some 200 bands or so in Austin this week, 20 of them from China alone. One of the terms I heard that caught my eye was music industry 3.0. That was one of the discussion panels. That seems like a complex way to describe what is essentially simple rock and roll, but that's the point. The music industry now has become so much more complex. Just 10 years ago or so, a band might make a record and then hope a record label would help them find fame and fortune by putting out. And some of those record labels became cultural icons. Think of Motown in Detroit. Think of Factory Records in Manchester in the UK, helping to shape the cultural narratives of those countries. But those labels, in some cases, appear to be taking something of a background step. And the question here this week is, how much of a future do some of these independent record labels have?
Blushing. Born and bred in Austin, the Texas home of the South by Southwest Festival and one of this year's headliners. Two couples with a shared love of guitar-drenched indie rock and a healthy self-regard for band dynamics.
Well, you're going to have to go into the bedroom with this person, you know, or sit in the living room and watch TV with this person after band practice is over. So you want to make sure, you know, you don't express your opinions too harshly. But yes, I think being with your spouse in the band, you're allowed to be a little bit more vocal about your opinions and in a frank way.
South by Southwest is an opportunity for bands like Blushing to reap the commercial rewards of global attention. But streaming has upended the business model for the music industry, with services such as Spotify and China's Tencent now multi-billion-dollar publicly traded companies.
Streaming accounted for 3/4 of US music industry revenues last year, and Spotify now has such reach it can offer opportunity to sign with it directly rather than with a record label, which would take a share of those revenues.
So, would direct streaming better serve Blushing than looking for a label to release their debut album?
What it comes down to is money. There's a big difference in money. I love Spotify. I'm a Spotify user. I have it. I love to stream music. But, you know, as an artist, that's not how we make our money in order to fund band things.
We actually make a good amount of our money playing shows, playing live. We're lucky to be able to do that. I know that's not the case for a lot of bands, but, you know, a good majority comes from playing shows and then from merch, you know, selling t-shirts and stuff like that. So yeah, Spotify is definitely not paying the bills.
And while streaming is dominant, physical CDs and vinyl LPs generate slightly more revenue than digital downloads. And that's an opportunity for smaller labels, such as Austin Town Hall Records, responsible for Blushing's early releases.
And seeing the band happy, and especially for a lot of the Austin bands, their parents come out, their friends come out, their girlfriends, their boyfriends, whoever, and seeing just like the look on their face when they're like, finally it's out there. And so here's what we're giving to the world.
A labor of love whose true value is perhaps best measured on the faces of the fans.
Well, they were absolutely fabulous, Blushing, Rochelle, I can tell you, and like many bands playing multiple shows here in Austin this week. It's worth adding, Spotify has said in the past, it has no plans to become a record label, but you can see the attraction for many of these artists when you look at the numbers. For example, an artist with a major label streaming via Spotify might receive as low as 18 cents for every dollar of revenue. Now compare that with an artist who might want to go it alone without a record label, and they would be earning around 68 cents. A huge difference, but the key difference here is the exposure those artists get. If you have a record label behind you, you're going to get a really good platform, as you can hear here in Austin, and that's the point. These independent record labels still have relevance in terms of giving these bands exposure.
So Owen, the music industry is ever more complex, and now we have multiple platforms for streaming. Do you ever think that record labels will just disappear?
Yeah, that's certainly the concern, isn't it? When you look at the likes of Spotify, Tencent Music from China expanding here all the time in the United States and indeed around the world. If you consider, though, artists like Adele and Taylor Swift, massive selling artists who managed to resist Spotify for years, they simply refused to put their music on Spotify's platform until relatively recently. But they can afford to do that. These are two of the biggest selling artists in the world who shift millions of units of physical music, of CDs, and indeed vinyl LPs as well. The key thing with record labels is they generate fan loyalty. The people we've spoken to this week all say that the fans here, they want to come and buy old-fashioned CDs and vinyl records, which are selling really well, counterintuitively. So there's definitely still a market for these record labels. Whether they can really profit from it in the long run is a different question, hence this labor of love. Now, Rochelle, I'm not sure if I could hear some reverb or something, but I'm sure I heard your foot tapping under the desk just now. So with that, I'm going to leave you with the sounds and sights of South by Southwest in Austin in Texas. Back to you.